I am the Cardinal.
And I am the Hill of
Cardinal
Hill
Wealth
Wealth Management.
Jesse Harris here, CFP. This is my esteemed partner.
Howdy, partner. I'm Robert Hill. Notice all of the swag. You look so good.
You look great too.
I feel like you're the next level.
I really wanted
wanted
to win the swag off. And so I've got my Cardinal Hill Wealth Management t-shirt on as well.
And I have just 2 out of the 3 pieces, but I'm ready to run. This is our floppy jalopy running hat.
That's right. That's right.
Benefits to being a client at Cardinal Hill.
Right.
You'll look great.
Yeah, look, swimming.
That's what this is
we
all
have
about.
a limit of which we can give every year and all that, but we won't go into that.
Compliance department.
That was for my compliance department.
There you go. All right, you want to intro us to what we're talking about? Because I'll probably be ranting most of this.
So really, this is Robert's baby here. He loves this stuff, and I love it too. I love that he loves it more than me, though, to be very honest. We're talking about income strategies. There really are a whole bunch of income strategies out there that you can use. And I mean, there are really folks in the area, I'm sure there are in your area too, that will use just one part of the strategy and say that it's the only part of the strategy. We're really like diversification, not just in investments, but taxes and how you do a lot of things. So this is a cool strategy that we like to talk about and use with clients, broadly speaking, not for everybody.
So when you talk about the bucket strategy, you kind of have to start off by saying, well, what's it not? Well, most people do a total return strategy, or basically a systematic withdrawal strategy to get money to pay them bills when you retire. So you may have heard of the 4% rule from the Trinity study. If you have $1 million in the first year, you pull out 4%, and it should last, a lot of air quotes here, a lot of caveats, but maybe 30 years. So a lot of people just say, you know what, I'm going to take out a certain percentage between all of my accounts, and it's all just going to work out as long as we invest appropriately. And that works well for a lot of people's psychology. It's a simple rule, and there's a lot of math and science behind ways to implement that rule that can work. So brief aside nerd moment. So my doctorate's in business strategy, and one of the things that as a strategist we care a lot about is humans as non-rational actors. So basically psychology and behavioral finance, right? And so I think the bucket strategy makes a lot of sense because it's kind of a way to do a little bit of mental accounting to organize your money in different ways for different purposes that can really help people chill out.
Yeah.
So we can manage a bucket strategy still using all the fancy math and science of a total return strategy, but it can help people sleep at night better. So it's just a good way to organize things. Okay, so what is it? So basically, let's say you separated your mythical $1 million into 3 buckets, and you could have different uses for those buckets. So for the first bucket, that may be, short-term investments, cash and cash-like instruments, and that may be, a year worth of your spending, as a target. Maybe two. Could be 2. And so why do you separate that out? Well, you're going to take less risk. So if the market's going crazy over here with your other buckets, you're just kind of earning maybe FDIC insured interest, and it's just chilling. And so you can sleep at night, and you're appropriately going, hey, that's my spending for the year. Some of our clients like to go, you know what? This is the amount I have in that bucket. Let's say it was $40,000. Well, I can spend $40,000, and I'm going to spend $3,333 a month to my checking account, and I can just check my brain at the door, and that's my spending allowance. And maybe you have Social Security or something else going on the side too. And then so what would that second bucket be? Maybe it's a 2-3 years of extra cash, something like that. And maybe you take a little bit more risk in this bucket so that your rate of return can be up higher a little bit more in general.
Hopefully.
Risk and return go together. So maybe these are things like short-term bonds. It could be a diversified bond portfolio. You may have some dividend-paying stocks or mutual funds that are more defensive in nature. We don't often sell a lot of deferred annuities or anything like that, but in our minds, like if a client comes to us with a bunch of annuities, we kind of think of it as maybe like a bond replacement. Mm-hmm. So maybe the annuity would live in that bucket. And then your last bucket.
And bucket 2 will also a lot of times lump in real estate. Not always, but most of the time. They're more like a bond-like instrument.
You could think of it that way.
Yeah.
So let's say this bucket is 40 grand. Maybe bucket 2 is like 80 grand, okay? And so whatever that math is, 880,000 left out of the mythical $1 million. This is your third bucket, and so that's oftentimes the biggest, not always, but often. And that's the one where you're really wanting to maximize that growth rate in alignment with your financial plan. And so if you had these 3 buckets, you'd want them to work together. So if you had a 60-40, a 60% stock, 40% bond, overall target asset allocation, you'd want to factor in bucket 1, may or may not be part of that 60-40. Maybe you just say that's outside and that's just cash. Great. Well, still with the bucket 2 and 3, this would eat up maybe, let's say all of this is bonds. And so you want to factor that in with the 40% bonds. And so maybe your bucket 3 is a higher stock allocation than your overall target. Maybe it's like a 70-30, for example.
So we're 77-30.
Whatever the math would say.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, you do a lot of that.
Yeah.
Calculators. Yeah. This could also be more appropriate for more long-term assets, things that are more volatile. So things like alternatives. There could be different types of real estate. There could be different like small cap stocks, things like that. That may take a long time to pan out, but they're kind of separated over here. Okay, so why do you do all this? Well, you separate things out so you can sleep at night. You can also use the buckets in different ways to pay them bills. So first off, you could retire at 65 and you separate your 1-year bucket and then your 2-year bucket. And so this money pays for, when you're alive at 65 and you spend it down and you don't touch anything else. The second bucket, you could spend it down for years when you're 66 and 67. And then finally, when you're 68, you can start selling off appreciated assets here and spend this bucket down. That's not our preferred. When we work with folks, what we like to do, but that's a way to do it. But what we like to do is kind of more of a waterfall of income and dividends and appreciated stock. So we would prefer to do a budgeting exercise every year. So maybe 40,000 your first year spending, and maybe second year it's 41,000, 42,000. There's inflation. And so the interest and dividends from bucket 2 would each year flow into bucket 1, and similarly you could have dividends and interest flow from bucket 3 to bucket 1, and maybe after a year or two there's not enough. So maybe we have to sell a little bit of appreciated assets from bucket 3 to fill up the other buckets every year. And then every year as you're selling, you're reassessing your Monte Carlo simulation results and you're balancing out your portfolio as you go, and you're evaluating the risk, and maybe your life circumstances have changed. Maybe you want to do a big cruise. Well, that cruise may be $20,000. Sure. And so this year it's not $40,000, well now this bucket is $60,000. So we have to reassess risk and all of that kind of stuff. We're still trying to zoom out and go, hey, the client wants a 60-40 and we think that's appropriate, but as you're spending down your assets over life, there may be different years where you do different things to even everything out.
And it's our delight. I mean, it's our joy if our bucket 3 has done exceedingly well to say, go travel some more. I mean, we love getting into that. But that's the benefit of we can look and see bucket 3's doing awesome, where bucket 2 maybe not be as well in position in the market because it's not taking the risk.
Right.
And
with planning, because that's our passion. I mean, we love investing, we do this a lot, but we love helping people. One of the benefits of having these buckets is it's just simple. It's simple for people to budget, and it's simple for people to think about it. So in January, if we say, hey, our goal is to spend bucket 1 $40,000 a year, 400,000, whatever it is appropriate for your life, well, the client can know, hey, that money is earmarked. I can spend it, and by the end of the year, as long as that's what I've spent, we don't need to worry about it because that's part of the plan. And then if they want to do something mid-year, do some big round-the-world cruise, and it's extra $40,000, well, maybe that's the appropriate time to plan and revisit the plan, which we're happy to do. But it just kind of can simplify things and can assuage some of that risk of what if the market's volatile. Remember, that's bucket 3 over here. And so we want you to sleep at night. We think this is a way to help people sleep at night. And it's a simple way to see how the money works over your life, because spending down your assets can be hard when you've worked your whole life to accumulate, and then it's finally time to spend them down. How do you do that well? We're here to help with that.
Great.
Closing thoughts, anything?
No, I mean, I think the one closing thought I had is if you do something fancy that you see on TikTok or YouTube, whatever it might be, like a Roth conversion or something like that, and you're using this strategy, a lot of people haven't thought through the tax ramifications of items. So you just want to make sure when you're executing strategies simultaneously that they're working together, not against one another.
Yeah, that's a great point. The tax, like oftentimes the buckets are accounts. And so maybe bucket 1 is a taxable money market. Bucket 2, you may have all qualified money. This may be an IRA. Well, every time you move money out of this account, all of it's taxable income. So we do need to think about all the taxes with this stuff. But yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Cheers.
All right, thanks, and like and subscribe.